Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That's right. It's one fucking hour time. That's right. It's the Get Ready, the show, where we talk about one goddamn movie, and we have just one fucking hour to do it. I'm Evan Husney. To my left, we got Miss Rémy Bennett. Rémy, welcome.
Hello.
Yes, that's right. Hello, everyone. All right, and to my right, we got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, what's going on?
What's up, guys? Just making sure all my torrent software is shut down for the episode here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's always ripping and stealing and,
Not
bandwidth.
stealing.
It's not? Okay.
Oh.
Never mind, he's not stealing. Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Getting ready for tonight for this is going to be a very interesting episode. We're doing a very interesting flick because it is episode 165. Marcus, episode 165. Shout out. Actually, you know what? We've been meaning to add a Rob Zombie drop on the old pad over here. So open challenge for anyone who can find me the perfect Rob Zombie. And is willing to DM me that on Instagram, and I approve and say, yep, that's the best one. $100. You're getting $100. So a little bounty action at the start of the show.
Generous.
If you can find me the perfect isolated Rob Zombie to put on the soundboard, $100 to you from PayPal, friends and family.
Wow.
Yeah, let us know. But anyway, episode 165.55, and it means we're doing an episode from 1965. And this one, there was no polls, there was no audience participation whatsoever. We just decided to audible into a really interesting movie. You know, people were complaining, of course, in the comments, as they always do, with their notes and feedback that nobody asks for, really, but... they provide us anyway that we weren't doing enough
constructive criticism. Yep.
That
Please leave a comment.
Yeah. You guys can still comment. It's okay. But that we haven't covered enough foreign films, world cinema. So we decided to steer the ship directly into the most foreign option for 1965.
I'll say.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about. I have my little phonetic pronunciation guide here.
Oh, good.
Okay, so tonight we are covering Sergei Parajanov's. How's that? Parajanov. That's right. I see that. Parajanov. Sergei Parajanov. His film Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors. Wow, guys.
Wow.
I'm very excited for us to be doing this. We don't do movies like this that often, but when we do, we're pretty excited here. Okay, so that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. But before we do that, little shout out ski. Guys, we're overdue. We got to get that bonus app under control here. But because for whatever reason, these the release pattern of these bonus episodes, I gotta say, it's been
kind of slow.
But we're gonna get to it, and of course, the only way you can access. Sorry. The only way you can access the bonus episodes.
Putting me on edge.
Experimental soundboard.
Yeah, come on. And just imagine mixed into that too. Come on, guys. Help us out. $100. Before we can get to all that shit though, or the only way you could get said bonus episodes is up on the one fucking hour Patreon. Of course, which is located at www.patreon.com/onefuckinghour. And that's where you can sign up for just $5 a month, and it gives you instant access to all the bonus episodes that we promise we'll be doing in the future, and 24-hour plus early access to every single episode of the show. We've been promising you guys sort of a 1950s roundup, right? We're about 5 years late to that, but we got to do that. This our next bonus is going to be our picks, our deep cut picks from the 1950s. Stay tuned for that so you can get it up on the Patreon when it goes live. Or if you want to keep all your bonus episode and you want to support us the same, but you want to keep all that shit on YouTube, you can, of course, scroll underneath this video, click the join button, and become a... There he is. Ooh, perfect timing. A moment of the YouTube channel, same price, same perks, same benefits, and we appreciate it. And 100% of the proceeds for the Patreon and the YouTube go to support our one fucking hour brother, Tom Fitzgerald, who's on medical leave from the show. And 100% of that, of the funds raised there, will go towards his recovery. Thank you so much to everybody who supported him thus far. It's truly been amazing. And in addition to that, we've also been, I got to give a shout out to this. And I actually did a video call, little FaceTime action with Tom yesterday. And he was so excited about all the letters and the beautiful packages. I mean, look at this. I mean, you know, big packages coming in every day. Letters, very exciting. And he was so excited that when I showed him the visual of all those, that he wanted me to crack a few of them open, just, you know, to show them to him rather than sort of wait. So I have been showing some of them, but this one really blew me away. There's actually a lot of them blowing me away, but just to kind of show, maybe as a little incentive for everybody to kind of step up their game a little bit, right? This came all the way from Norway, okay?
Wow.
We got a Norwegian fan, 44,000 kroner is what it cost them to send this. So, but this is from Oliver. Shout out, Oliver. Thank you so much for
Thank you, Oliver.
putting a card in. But check this out. So here it is. I don't want to show his Norwegian address, but I opened it and I was like, is that Marcus? Is Marcus in there? And I was like, no, it's Lester Diamond card.
Oh my God.
Look
that's
at
so
that.
Cool.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know. A Lester
wow.
Diamond get well soon card.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
All the way from Norway. Yes, we miss you on the show. Hope to see you back. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Love from Norway, Oliver and Svien. Thank you, Oliver and Svien.
Awesome.
Yeah, so cool. So just wanted to show that, guys. And if you want to show your support, send in some fan mail, get well soon cards to Tom. He'd really appreciate it. I mean, he just lit up when he saw all this stuff. So it's really amazing. Awesome. So I'm going to flash this on the screen really quick. If you'd like to send something to Tom, send it to my P.O. Box. Evan Husney, 697 Grand Street, Box 166, Brooklyn, New York, 11211. Pause the screen, write it down, send something. We'd appreciate it a lot. And I know he would too. I mean, this, guys, incredible.
So cool.
And there's a lot more. There was like some great letters, great inside jokes, memories from the show. It was all fantastic. So thank you all so much. So, all right. You guys ready to get into the main event here?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Everybody at home, strap in. It's time for one fucking hour on Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors. Getting the clock all ready here. Stand by. Uh-oh. Okay. Little synopsis action on the film. Here we go. Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors follows Ivan and Marichka. Wait, sorry. I have to do. Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors follows Ivan and Marichka. Two young lovers from feuding families in the Carpathian Mountains whose romance is shattered by tragedy and loss. Drawing from Hutsul folklore, ancient rituals, and spiritual traditions, the film transforms a simple love story into a meditation on memory, grief, and the enduring presence of the dead. Directed by Sergei Parajanov. It explodes with wildly inventive camera movements, vivid color, music, and symbolism that gives the film a psychedelic, dreamlike intensity unlike anything else in world cinema during its time. Widely regarded as a masterpiece of Ukrainian cinema, Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors remains a breathtaking celebration of culture, myth, and the power of visual storytelling.
Wow.
So,
and who wrote that?
I cobbled together from a few review skis that I was reading while researching for this. And
what are your thoughts, Marcus?
Well, the word psychedelic caught my ear because I was thinking that when I was rewatching this, you know, it was entering my head too. But I felt like this is like saying it's psychedelic, I feel like almost short sells it. Like it's something
Yeah.
more ancient and older.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it's like it's older magic than psychedelic.
Oh,
I think.
yes.
I think it
definitely.
can be though.
It's
You
so
know?
funny, Marcus,
Sure.
you say that. I had the
Proto-psychedelic.
exact same
Yeah.
Really?
thought. I had this whole like inner monologue about like, is it psychedelic? Is it not? Is it right before psychedelic?
It is.
Like all that stuff.
And I love you know,
Yeah.
it's like half of my life is a
Yes.
Yeah.
psychedelic,
Same.
you know, but
Yeah.
I feel like this is
Well,
it's
you
almost
know-
like disrespectful or something.
But also like those kind of words, I guess descriptors like hallucinatory or, you know,
Lysergic.
kaleidoscopic, you know, all that's, it's sort of the essence of feeling as if you were under sort of a drug that's taking you from
this
the,
comes from like a totally different place too, you know, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's more the sort of the sort of poetic effects in this film are more interwoven into the reality. Like it doesn't have to be like someone's on drugs or someone's dreaming for it to have these poetic
Sure.
effects that we see. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of
I think it's
interesting, you know.
Yeah, I
Well,
think like in terms of maybe not at its time when it came out, but I think sort of retroactively it kind of would appeal to your psychedelic
Definitely.
viewer.
Yeah, it's more like marketing, you know.
Yeah,
for
it's just
sure.
like,
well,
you know,
it's visceral, it's visual, it's emotional, it's
Yeah.
active, it's moving. It's not static and psychological and realism. So I think that's like
yeah,
part of
and
that.
seeing if you were
immersive. It's immersive.
if you were to see it on drugs, you'd probably freak out too, you know. And this is you all right over there? Jesus Christ. But
I'm
this
just
is
imagining it.
this kind of I know, right?
It's like, no.
Oh my, yeah, no. But this idea, this concept pairs well with kind of where I was at maybe 20 years ago. I was seeking out movies like this, and this is again another retroactive term, you know, for lack of a better term, what I like to call prog rock cinema. Okay,
Yes.
there it is.
Totally.
This is this fits into the prog rock cinema sort of genre for me, and this is what I was really into. It's that sort of ethnographic, you know, like it's so intensely into the folklore that it becomes surrealistic, right? Because it's so alien to what we know, right?
Give us some titles.
Okay, so some of the titles,
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious ones, because they do have the prog rock soundtracks, you know, Herzog's Heart of Glass, of course.
yeah.
Right.
Of course, Aguirre, Wrath of God, which we've covered in the archives. And then, of course, these are some big Marcus titles too here.
Oh yeah.
Of course,
my comfort zone.
This is it. This is your zone. Lucifer Rising, of course.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Holy Mountain, which shout out in the Patreon. We've done an audio commentary track to Holy Mountain. On the Silver Globe by Jalowski.
Right.
Maybe this one's a little more acid folk cinema, but Valerie and her Weekend of Wonders, Fantastic Planet, and the most Marcusy of all, The Inner Scar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite. Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was like 22, 23, you know, I was like really getting into like, you know, the band Magma, you know, and I loved them so much. And that there is something ethnographic about Magma because they are like this futuristic alien space prog rock band, right? That sings in their own language and they have their own folklore and their own, you know, sort of made up history and made up language and everything. And so it really appealed to me. So when I sought out this movie and people were telling, when I was kind of explaining the things that I was looking for, and it's like, dude, you got to check out Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors, you know? And then that sort of really did scratch the itch of like whatever I was searching for out of prog rock cinema, you know?
Totally.
So it feels like it fits in with that. And I think,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like something that's a characteristic of that is it is very musical. You know, like every scene in this movie has its own kind of vibe. It's like a different slice of some very trippy folk song, you know, that's contrasting with very, you know, visually poetic images, as you were saying, Marcus. It feels very like proto music video, kind of like an Eastern European Kenneth Anger at times,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Right.
Because
Right.
he was harking back to this kind of mysticism from,
Yes.
you know, Egypt and these ancient cultures, and Curtis Harrington was doing that too with some of his like experimental short films. So in the 60s, a lot of people were taking from these mystical cultures.
Yes,
definitely. And there's similar like camera work with Kenneth Anger too. Like arranging like tableaus and then like wide angles. And stuff. So there are like there's some similarities there.
And like solarization, lightning effects, and stuff like that.
I think is it even possible that he would have Parajanov would have.
I don't know.
Come across it kind of thing. It's possible, but unlikely.
I don't know.
Well, also the magic when you think of, the whole like Evan, like the music too. Like there's so much mysticism and magic in that music, like sorcery and superstition.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with anger, like literally invocation of my demon. You know, Bobby Beausoleil. I kept on thinking that Ivanik or whatever his name is, the lead. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, he's Bobby Beausoleil.
He does look like,
and like I kept on getting Bobby Beausoleil vibes, like even like how his whole look in the 60s in Haight-Ashbury was like, I'm a Victorian psychedelic priest. He
sort of like their satanic majesty's request, kind of like 60s garb.
Yes.
He also looks a little Dime Square modern hipster to me too, or even a little Lester Diamond. But so
I love the folk music, and it reminds me of like Alan Lomax or something too, just like that was kicking around, and Harry Smith, and just those sort of like the 60s unearthing those earlier kind of folk songs in America, but just interesting to see someone in Russia doing this.
Very cool.
Similar kind of archaeology.
Very cool. And so obviously it goes with the sort of, musical, framework as well, because the camera work in this film too is so frenetic.
Shit.
It's just this fantastic tapestry of tracking shots and whip pans and handheld camera work. Stark, saturated color moments, spinning cameras, dizzying.
And the constant changing of perspectives with the camera. Right. I think that's like something that's so interesting because the viewer is like so immersed that they're like internally involved, but then it's like there's another creature almost watching, and then you're the tree, and then you're the person getting hit with the axe, and it's like you're really on this insane roller coaster of like total immersion into this mad world. Which does feel very like Battleship Potemkin or something too, like kind of more traditional, Soviet cinema, which we know that Parajanov, God damn it, was a student of course. And something that we'll get into is that I read a film historian, David A. Cook, said about this film, to say that Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors violates every narrative code and representational system known to the cinema at its time is an understatement. At times, in fact, the film seems intent upon deconstructing the very process of representation itself. Yeah. It's a great quote. And I also appreciate, watching this movie 60 years later, is that it always gives you something interesting to look at. It's moving at a fast pace. This is not languid, contemplative, like you're watching Tarkovsky's Nostalgia or something. This is very different than that. It's got a real pulse and a propulsion to it. Which is great. So it's a fantastic watch, and you're just kind of, your jaw is, hanging open, looking at these really truly, truly breathtaking set pieces, many of which we'll get into.
Right.
But let's get a little backstory on our man here. Parajanov was born in 1924 in Soviet Georgia, right, to Armenian parents. So that's his kind of background. He studied filmmaking in Moscow under Igor Savchenko. I'm going to have trouble with this. So then he spent a lot of his early career making more conventional Soviet films, right? Did you find anything else, Marcus, about sort of this?
Well, he's, the quote from him, I think, is like, he was Armenian who he was Armenian. He worked in Georgia, and he was imprisoned in Russia for being a Ukrainian nationalist or something.
Right.
Wow. And he made films from all those areas, like Color of Pomegranates is more of a Armenian type thing, right?
Which would come later, right?
Because he was an Armenian poet, yeah.
Right. And then he made films in the future, in the 80s or whatever, that were like Georgia and Azerbaijan and stuff. So
right.
But I think when he was there's some interesting details about his childhood that I think help kind of fill in like what is going on in these films, like where do these films come from?
Yeah.
Like his father was an antiques dealer, so he grew up around like
esoteric collectibles.
Right.
Cool.
And his mother would like sort of like, she was an artist and like a pianist, and he studied music as well. But his mother, there's a story about his mother, like she would like wrap herself in some of the like the sort of like scandalous fur coats that the father had acquired in his antiques, dealing. And she would tell the children stories. She would stand up on the roof and tell the children these stories and stuff. And so I think
that's cool.
That those little details kind of help pick it in, because or help fill in the, where does films come from? I think because so much of it is about like arranging objects in front of the camera, taking these like elaborate costumes or decorating the set, all these sort of like decorative arts that appear throughout all of this stuff. And the arrangement, that kind of simplifies things a little bit for me. And I kind of understand like where he's coming from a bit more.
Yeah, and it's interesting that like when he was studying cinema early on at the Dovzhenko film studio, and he was making
like you said, Eisenstein was one of his professors.
Yeah, which is
so
amazing.
insane,
crazy. Can you imagine? And so he was making these relatively conventional films, but it wasn't until he saw, and I think this is an interesting connection here, it wasn't until he saw Ivan's Childhood, of course, by Andrei Tarkovsky, that not that it directly influenced his style, but it convinced him that cinema could be something more personal, poetic, symbolic, spiritual, even, and of course expressive, rather than just this narrative concept. And he famously said, "quote Before Ivan's Childhood, I did not know how to make films," even though he had a whole career of making films prior to that. So that really, rocked his world. But of course, again, stylistically, they're very different. Tarkovsky's slow, meditative. Wait, he's sorry.
Oh.
He's
kind of slow.
Meditative and philosophical. Where Parajanov is frenetic, ecstatic, ritualistic. In nature, it's kind of different.
Right. You can
But
tell
can we
it's
put it?
like, well, in Ivan's Childhood, just that like a lot of the sort of surreal moments are like dreams that the child is having, And it is, you do see a lot of the similar stylistic stuff come out. Then there might be like swirling camera movement or like shooting through water. There are and like just sort of the unusual
the more
images,
impressionistic
like
stuff.
the horse eating all those apples on the beach that in Ivan's Childhood. There are a lot of like surreal moments in there, but it is kind of contained to the dream sequences,
Yeah.
And Sergei just sort of like opens
Who cares?
that up. Yeah, right.
It's all like, this mythological filmmaking,
Yes.
right? Because he
But
has an
also
interest in folklore.
In terms of the like context too, I think it's important to point out like the historical context of like the Russification stuff.
Yeah,
and,
let's
like,
do it.
Right.
The sort of Soviet Union's imperialistic sort of takeover and the erasure of the cultures, of the indigenous cultures and Ukrainian and Slavic. And so I think what's interesting is that you had this new crop of filmmakers that were rebelling against that, the social realism that was a part of that propaganda sort of movement of homogenizing Soviet culture.
Right. And the reason they were able to do that is because Stalin died in 1953. And then there was like Khrushchev, sort of the Khrushchev thaw, where they were thawing
The thaw.
out.
These are the thaw filmmakers.
These are the thaw directors.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. So you had all these people coming out who were really experimenting with form in a way because they were living under repression and oppression and all that. So it's so interesting kind of see how the creativity kind of like flowers when it's coming out of that sort of oppression.
I think one of my understanding is that like because you'd think that this is a patriotic film because it's about the history, the ancient deep history of Ukraine.
No.
Which is the opposite,
like,
though, because they
It's
don't
the
want to
opposite.
honor those cultures. Yeah.
Right, because they don't want people. It's like they were afraid that this film would create nationalism in the Ukrainians. Right, they felt like, and it did have that effect.
Yeah.
But because they wanted people to have a Soviet identity, right?
Right.
Not be,
Exactly.
like,
So like a monoculture of the Soviet Russian monoculture. So
like you're not your nation is no longer Georgian or whatever. You're
so this
Soviet.
was all these little interesting, amazing, idiosyncratic, wild, cultures and like ethnic stories and all those were all completely being erased. And so this was about like revitalizing, renewing those things that were lost to time. And so it was almost this amazing like celebration of saying and he talked about the idea of wanting the audience to participate in the renewal process, like in the same way, like spiritually in the movie, they're creating these rituals. The viewer is like a part of the ritual of like
That's cool.
renewing the energy of like what these cultures were and the traditions and everything.
Yeah, so let's call it for what it is. I mean, this idea of socialist realism is what was kind of going on in the films, in the more mainstream films in the Soviet Union, right? This sort of doctrine from the 30s onward, state-mandated ideology, you know, when they were governing literature, painting, music, film, theater. They wanted clear stories with a positive socialist heroes, celebration of, you know, the workers of the Soviet state, optimistic political messages, you know, all that sort of thing. So the opposite.
They might depict like folk people out in the woods or whatever, but then they would be sure to make them seem kind of backward, you know, or something, you know, like, and not like
Right. And so this film is the antithesis. It's focused on folklore instead of politics. You know, the film has a lot of Christian sort of, you know, imagery, spirituality, ritual,
and
paganism.
So it's like that kind of melding of like the pre-Christian pagan stuff with the Christian, which is so interesting in that Carpathian world. Like
apparently Parajanov wasn't very religious himself, but he just liked that sort of ritual, you know,
Yeah.
was drawn to the history of it, but he's not like a Christian.
Yeah. You know, for sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of that in this.
And
film.
all the like demons I was looking up, because I remember like the Carpathian Mountains, because as a kid I was like really obsessed with like Dracula and Vlad the Impaler. I had like a Vlad the Impaler t-shirt I wore like every day when I was 12.
Rotten Cotton.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I remember like in Bram Stoker's, the Coppola movie, which I love, like the opening and like the monologue is like in the Carpathian Mountains, you know? And so I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But so it's like, you know, vampires and werewolves and like she-devils of the wood and demons of the mountains and sorcerers. And they're, you know, all so much of that sort of history of like, you know, those stories and superstitions like are really coming from that region. So he's really like bringing that to life through this story, which is in one way about love, but it's also about like love, that death, how you transcend like life and death and how the borders of those things become very porous. In these cultures.
Yeah. And it has like, you know, this, I think it has another theme about, you know, sort of a vanishing culture as well, right? Because it is looking at a time capsule of like this, you know, Hutsul village, you know, in like, you know, in the mountains. The whole film is even like the actual dialect that they used and that they're speaking in this film is, you know, not many people could even speak or understand, you know, at the time. So he's also doing, you know, he's also doing that too, which is amazing. And looking at,
I guess it's like one of the first films to only, like one of the first Soviet films where it was actually not in Russian too. Like they left it in this language and he refused to have it translated. And like the sound is such a big, huge part of this movie, the selection of the sound, the voices and stuff. You really couldn't translate it anyway. You wouldn't have the wailing of the mother and the Utsul language and the like all those just little people chit-chattering in the background, you know, during the whole film.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to translate that anyway.
Милується красою, а поженитися не може.
Yes, and so it's like a total rebellion, you know? And it's such like an ecstatic rebellion.
And further evidence of that, and we should get into the film shortly, but the premiere that this film had in 1965 was a noteworthy event in and of itself. You know, by sort of the, you know, mid part of 1965, the Soviet government began sort of a new wave of arrests targeting Ukrainian writers and artists and academics, intellectuals, all those people. And when this film,
Khrushchev was ousted, right? Brezhnev came in.
That's right.
And then they, so they changed things up a bit. The thaw was ended then, right?
And there was a resistance. People, you know, young Ukrainian cultural figures were pushing for more, you know, greater artistic freedom. And so when this movie came out, the audience was already kind of primed to see it as sort of a bigger, more like almost revolutionary thing. And during the screening, I guess a lot of Ukrainian intellectuals publicly protested all these arrests that were going on. And many people spoke out at the screening who were talking about all this stuff. And so many of the people that did speak out at the screening, they would later be like, subject to like surveillance. They were fired from places. They suffered expulsion from their academic institutions, imprisonment, even political persecution, so on and so forth. So this sort of became this like lightning rod protest moment,
like rallying cry.
Yeah.
For their like individuality,
which is amazing,
expression and all that. Yeah, well, because think about like if you're gonna do it, this movie does it in such a vivid way. And I think he talked about the idea of like not wanting this to feel like a museum piece or like a traditional ethnographic documentary film, where it was like he wanted it to be so vivid, like I keep on saying, but like alive and experiential, so that like
and boy does it
grabs you by the throat. And like this culture is not dead, because also in terms of folklore, the way that those traditions and ideas get carried down is through the telling of the stories. Right. So like the stories get passed down, and he is doing that through this movie. Like the shadows that have been lost, but like we're keeping this alive by telling these stories, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
I guess as a result of that protest, he sort of got on a list, right? And then he was like, there was like some letter he signed that was like trying to, it was protesting what the government was doing in the post-thaw. And then because of that, everybody got persecuted. Like you said, he ended up getting jailed by the authorities for, homosexuality, for stealing artifacts, of which people that like him too have accused him of stealing artifacts too. I feel it's entirely possible with this guy. But and
like porn, I heard, or something was part of it.
God, it's like a Pee Wee Herman persecution.
It was like a Pee Wee Herman moment.
It was. It's so funny to see the same sort of tactics get used. But but they so he got imprisoned for that.
5 years.
For 5 years, and there was a huge international. At some point, there was like an international campaign to get him out.
Yeah,
and a bunch of his fellow directors came to put pressure on the government to release him, including Fellini, Buñuel, Godard, Truffaut, Rossellini, Visconti.
Oh my
Antonioni,
God! The whole gang.
Pasolini, all the E's, all the E's.
Oh my God! You got the whole Criterion closet over here. So,
I mean, at that point, to be imprisoned for making films, and in the mid '60s
about culture, it's like insane.
It's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, they did get him out a year early, so
nice.
They had a happy ending.
Beautiful. All right. So let's get into the film here.
There's one more story I got to tell about his early life that we have to say. This will be quick, but like in 1950, he was. Of course, he was accused of homosexuality. He probably, he was gay, but he also fell in love with a woman at one point in 1951 and got married to her. But not long after the wedding, she was killed, possibly by her brothers.
Shit!
For Parajanov's failure to pay a bride price, or maybe also because she converted to Christianity to marry him and stuff. So. Anyway, her body was like tossed under a train or something, multiple stab wounds. Never spoke about it, but this sort of like tragic love is a big, is like sort of a recurring theme in his work. And then, anyway, sorry.
True Crime Marcus.
What was your name, Marcus?
Nagar, I think.
Oh,
I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, wild story there. But
well, the one thing we didn't mention too is that this film is based on a book, of course, I think from 1911. By Mikhailo Kotsiombinsky, something like that, of the same name. Marcus, anything on the book? Do you know? Or I think it's a little bit different, but
it's like a novella, I think.
Yeah, novella. Yeah,
and this was an adaptation. He was basically hired to make the adaptation for it, but I think he was excited about it because he realized that it was just sort of this coalescing of everything that he wanted to do. It covered
with film. Cool.
Yeah.
So the opening,
and he was also a painter and made collages, and so he was an artist of like all kinds, all mediums. Yeah, he hated the idea of like film being this like reductive sort of medium
and rigid.
Rigid. Yeah.
There's a fun little curio doc that kind of goes through his museum at night, and it's called Night at the Parajanov Museum, and it shows a lot of his little collages and stuff.
Sweet.
And then you can see the echoes of that and like colored pomegranates and
it's cool.
This movie too. Yeah.
All right, so the opening of the film, again, visually arresting from jump here, where we see, as Rémy mentioned earlier on, that it's the perspective of a tree falling, of course, on little Ivan And his older brother, Olesko, basically sacrifices himself to save his younger brother. And this is where we first hear the sort of like leitmotif of these. Rémy, you were saying they're kind of like death horns? Or?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just to say, too, like the movie starts in the, cold, snowy nature landscape. I mean, I think that's really important, too. Like, this is also a film about nature, but the way that like nature is a symbol, the way that this culture is immersed in nature. So like in the culture, the snow and the mountains were representative of, what is this demon called? It's called, so like I wrote it down. A clonic spirit, which was a demon in the mountains. That's representative of death. Okay. And so the movie starts where he's like in the mountains covered in snow, death is in the air. The sound of that horn, it's called
Trombitas?
a trombita.
Oh, very cool.
Trombita, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the sound of death. So
amazing.
that's like, so it opens with all these symbols of like culture and what
discordant horn.
Yeah.
Parajanov said when he was recording, he had the Hutzels in to like record the music, and record the trombitas, but they wouldn't. They were very curious and like stuck to their rituals, even though he invented a lot of rituals in this movie with their participation.
Oh, that's cool.
But they wouldn't blow the horns until they were wearing their like proper clothes and they had dressed the horns with fresh flowers.
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
We're hit with the title card, Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors, and then right out of the gate after the opening titles, we see this incredible shot. Okay, it's kind of this long sort of handheld tracking shot that kind of feels like maybe like a Jodorowsky or like a Herzog type of trick here, where we're just sort of panning across these different people, like with they're playing mouth harps. There's these older women who are like twirling blankets,
it's insane,
which kind of creates some hallucinatory effect. And then
the tree point of view thing. Sorry to go back to that. That's so shocking. Like I hadn't seen this movie before. This is the first time I saw it, and like that even just. I don't know, like the fact that you really are in this swing, like you're in the motion of the movie is such an amazing, interesting experience. That's very rare.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In my head, Ivan's childhood did something like that, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. If I'm
There's a lot of cool tree shots.
I'm just maybe conflating that. Yeah.
Forest and stuff.
Tree core. We see all these crazy faces, right? Of just like the camera just being as free and as loose as possible just to create incredible imagery. Until it stops on Rémy's favorite character, who you pointed out last night, that looked like the hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I literally, the like madman with like the stringy hair. I was like, dude, that's literally the hitchhiker. And then I became totally convinced that Toby Hooper and his like Austin, art friends.
Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors.
Right. I was like, dude, no. Because then I kept on for the rest of the movie and be like, this is so Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Even just like the handheld with like all the sometimes grotesque masks or visages and the frenetic energy. And
when like they put the camera on the floor of the house and there's all the like feathers and bones. It's kind of similar. Yeah, okay.
And then there's a shot towards the end when like the witchcraft of the new wife is kind of set in motion. There's like the skulls like hanging and she's on the ground, like the big, like the opening shot, one of the opening shots when like the guy with the drunk guy's on the ground in Texas Chainsaw. I was just like seeing Texas Chainsaw everywhere. But
Bob Burns is a little Parajanov core for sure. Yeah. So, all right.
So, I don't know if that's anything, but
interesting.
So we're then introduced to this concept of like these two warring families. Okay. There's like a rivalry between two families here in this world. And there's a dispute that's sort of happening like during this religious ceremony. And Ivan, the little boy, his father is murdered by one of the other family's fathers.
And this is right after the funeral of the brother.
Yes, that's what it is. That's the ceremony. Yes,
and it's so insane too because I think just to mention that like Well, insane. I mean, in terms of the frenetic energy of this whole beginning
It's
portion
crazy.
of the movie, like because the funeral rituals are so also integral to this culture as well. So it's because it's about like, okay, we need to how do we send this person and this soul into like the next world?
Right.
There's a lot of things that are happening that go into that process.
And that's mirrored, bookended once we get to the end of the film, of course.
yeah.
But
It's sort of like Romeo and Juliet, basically, right?
Yeah, there is
sort
a little
the
bit of
plot
that here.
The two warring families
Yep.
and the children that fall in love with each other.
that's in there for sure.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so we have Ivan's father is murdered, and there is an incredible, where again from Ivan's father's perspective of the guy, wielding an axe right at the camera, blood on the
Crazy.
screen, which is so cool for the time period.
The viewer becomes the guy getting hit with the axe
Yeah.
or in the head.
But
and
then-
then the blood is like in your eyes.
Yeah, but then the blood is running down the camera lens. And of course, like, how can we make this more fucking awesome and badass?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
cut to solarized red horses
Oh, that's
jumping,
so good.
as just like a little poetic touch. Like, sure, why not? Boom. And it's like awesome. I love
So
that.
good.
title is Wild Horses of Fire,
Yeah.
by the way.
Oh, is
That's
that
the French title of the movie.
Is it?
yeah.
Whoa,
killer?
wild
So
horses.
again, just like
Crazy.
the choices of what he decides to do with complete freedom here is
Yeah.
incredible. So the father's death represents some sort of curse of some kind, because then, of course, Ivan's mother, she's very sad about this, and she curses the rival family, the Gutenyuk family. And she even curses them to say that to bring death to their cattle, which is something that is also foreshadowing for something that's going to happen a little later in the film. But this is where we're introduced to Ivan and Marichka as little kids, and they're friends, but then they start to basically fall in love. And again, just another amazing proto-hippie filmmaking here, as you see this incredible shot of like them dancing together as like little kids, like they're kind of like twirling each other around with these like beautiful sort of like spring flowers in the foreground. And then they roll around in the flowers, and it's an amazing visual, of course.
I love those little interludes like that in this, this sort of idyllic,
Yep.
And then it feels very 60s too. Like it's so interesting.
So 60s.
All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm in a 60s
Film. Yeah.
Charles Manson home movie.
right. There's the theory that a lot of there's a guy that wrote a story about wrote a history of like where hippies came from, and it was a lot of these German
Yes,
people that lived in the
makes total
mountains
sense.
and
Totally.
would be naked running around the mountains.
Communal,
Stuff.
collective
Totally.
cultures.
Yeah, and then those people moved to California where they're like, oh, we can actually live out in
Right,
nature,
living off the
Yeah.
land
healthy
and-
and stuff.
Yeah,
It is-
even like the
that's
outfits.
the theory as to where hippies came from.
They're
right,
all
the
these
tapestries and
Eastern European Beausoleils out there.
they are.
So then we see them, age progressed, like 15 years or something like that, or maybe less. And they're older now, and they're sort of in this church, and they embrace. They're in love, and it's a forbidden love, as Marcus.
Wait, but I'm so sorry. Can I go back a little bit?
Teeny bit.
To when they're still kids?
Yes.
And then they're in like the dark forest.
Yeah.
And that part is so incredible. That's when they start hearing the sounds. They hear like the axe, which is the other ominous signal of death. They hear like the spirits, the spirits of the forest are like, these are the spirits that are going to kind of be following them throughout the whole story, that are sort of like beckoning them to the other like realm. So anyway, I love that part.
We
where, like,
also hear the song too, because we hear the little girl singing
Yeah.
the song
Yes, I
there,
love
one of
that.
the first folk songs we hear in the movie. And I
Yeah.
think that is a direct lift. Like that is the song that they sing in the novella.
Співаночки мої милі, де я вас подіну? Чи може вас співаночки горами посію?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so she's terrified of like, what is, what does this forest like have in store, and like who are the sort of spirits here? And so I don't know, that part was cool to me, that kind of ominous moment there.
And so then we see them participate in like this traditional dance. Ivan says, "Don't worry, we will be together." And then they have this kind of moment together where they're kind of talking to each other, and he's like, "What's the matter, my sweetie?" And there's like these negative space of this incredible wooden kind of plant trestles around them, and it's just very beautifully filmed.
All the sunshine that's coming through the trees, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The wide variety of like, photography ideas in this are incredible. You know, it's not just like, there's just so many ideas, tracking shots, wide angle, shooting through plants, shooting from up high, crazy angles.
Oh yeah, being like down in the
tableau
bush,
stuff,
like,
you know, like
looking up at the actors. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Yuri Ilyenko, who is the cinematographer, and it became one of the most revolutionary elements of the whole movie. Is just the cinematography in general is incredible.
Definitely. By all accounts, this is not like an auteur film, you know, like he did have like a really good crew that was involved, the designer, the
editing,
totally.
Yeah. And the Yuri Ilyenko, he went on to be a successful director in his own right, you know, and
cool.
And you can tell the difference too between this and Color of Pomegranates, you know, because just stylistically, because that is just almost 100% that sort of arranged tableau type style. And apparently there was a lot of fighting between Parajanov and Ilyenko on the set because, and maybe they were fighting over that because Parajanov was like more drawn to that sort of tableau style. So they were feuding a bit, and this took over a year to make because of all the feuding and and different schedules.
I could see that. I could see that. I mean, it's just so ambitious.
One other little thing I just wanted to mention in the red berries was something I just wanted to bring up too. Like in the moment when they're kids, and like that was something I wanted. I don't know. Like I think it represents like their sort of love and the budding sexuality. That kept on coming up. And I know like red. I think like the red berries is contrast later with like the red coral beads of his other wife.
Later,
that represent a sort of like carnal, not as genuine spiritual love, and this is like the berries of youth. And I just wanted, I just thought,
yes, he has a lot of these like clever motifs that are woven throughout as well. So it's like a very complex, movie, and all these different elements: the cinematography, the sound, the music, the symbolism. It all sort of like. Someone was writing that it sort of all these strategies sort of de-emphasize the narrative movement in favor of more pictorial, lyrical, and metaphoric aspects.
Very much so.
And I think that is something that we're like, that's what this is.
Because you do have to invest in that, I think, is the thing too. Like it's if you're searching for like this narrative, that's not where you're going to find pleasure from this movie. Like it is those little moments. But what does that mean? What are those barriers?
Yeah, the little poetic moments.
Yeah, what does that represent?
Okay, let's keep it going here because there's a lot to get to. Okay, so there's a great little moment where he's like, it's also just breathtaking because of the wide angle lens of like him hammering in these boards on this roof of his house. Super wide lens. Looks crazy. Raimi, you said it looked like Sam Raimi Evil Dead. Like it does. It's
there was
crazy.
A lot of Evil Dead too.
There is like just in terms of just the creativity with the camera, and like also Zalowski too comes to mind.
The handheld wide angle thing.
Yes, the handheld. Exactly. So then we see the camera is now revolving around Ivan and Marichka, and he's saying, I have to depart until winter. I'm going to try and work and earn money so they can get married. And there's rain falling on them. Very beautiful image. And it completely reminds me of Come and See as well, which 100%. We are going to be.
You got to do Come and See. I couldn't believe the similarity of that.
I know.
And then also
childhood too, does the similar kind of thing.
Well, the rain too, like
wet,
about the
muddy.
Yeah, but the symbolism there too, I was trying to kind of think of that. Like, what is that? Because it's sort of, they're out of time, they're out of reality. The rain is like almost just on them, but it's also brightly sunny. So it's almost like their love, once again, it's like transcending the normal everyday reality of the world. Like,
Also the influence of the Italian neorealism, I think, coming through too, just like mud on your face and dirty and kind of like earthy type of thing,
But also like something about like summoning nature. Like there's something about their love is so spiritual and transcendent, like that they are like summoning all like the beautiful spirits of nature.
So we see him then, herding this cattle across this landscape. It's very beautiful, wide angle shot. This is when we're introduced to the twinkle of this like sort of prophetic star that he sees, which will later be a visual motif that sort of connects this, like, that's the personal connection between him and Marichka.
And they're star-crossed lovers.
Star-crossed lovers. And of course, that'll transcend even into her death. But we see this amazing little moment here where it's like almost a gothic horror-like quality of her wandering in this sort of smoky forest. with the sort of camera contorting up all of the branches and looking up to see the twinkling star. The camera zooming with the trees as she's going by in the trees. And like the way the lens distorts the trees and everything, it's really beautiful. Just haunting imagery there.
That's Evil Dead to me too.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm sorry to make these dumb references. But
no,
like,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Because also those were the spirits of the forest too. Like
it fits. It's like Throne of Blood. You know the Kurosawa Macbeth
I'm not
film.
gonna say Twin Peaks.
But shit, I didn't think he was gonna be here.
I don't know.
Get through this one.
I just like the forest, that's almost the portal to the darkness, the seer, the log lady. There's there's a lot in there. But anyway, I looked it up. There's a forest demon called the Mavka, which is the most iconic Carpathian forest spirit, which is a demon that is symbolic of women who have died like untimely deaths. And they're like roaming the forest. And so she's feeling all that dark energy there.
So yeah, and then she's like tending to animals in the mountains or something, and she attempts to rescue a stray lamb or goat or something.
Sheep.
And she steps on this very steep riverbank, loses her footing and falls into the river, and of course we later learn drowns.
Yeah.
But we're sort of match cutting with like also what's going on with Ivan and like one of his cattle falling off the ledge, and then like as he starts to come back down to the village, he hears people crying that she's drowned and she's fallen in the river.
And I think that horn too starts going off.
That's right. The death horn returns. And just great, like, very emotional, sort of like evoking the grief and the horror and the trauma of her death. Beautiful shot of Ivan laying on these large wooden rafts as they float by the camera, and it's just like, go big or go home, man. If you're gonna have that shot, make it seem like a 10 million bucks, and it does. It looks something out of like Aguirre Wrath of God. It does,
The raft, the longest raft ever.
Yeah, it's fucking
incredible.
Yeah. And there's great like handheld moments of like staying with Ivan as he's trying, I think it's shots of him discovering her body at like the foot of like the river or something.
And it's interesting, the camera, I was reading some essay about it where the camera's almost looking away at moments because it's almost too hard.
That's what it is.
It's mirroring almost his feeling of finding it so difficult to look at this.
It's amazing. Yeah. Then there's this other little quick moment that you might miss, but it's a shot of him coming up from the river, I think, and the handheld camera just looks up at the sky, settles down nestles in the grass with the grass in the foreground as Ivan like approaches a deer and like tries to embrace this deer.
Wow.
And this amazing, just like, I guess the way the shot is blocked, it infers, he's trying to like connect with her through something, like through nature, but like can't, and it's just an amazing poetic moment. That's
he can't reach her anymore. He can't, and that's like the whole sadness, tragedy.
The blocking, the choreography between the camera and the actors and stuff is just so incredible.
Incredible.
Duh, but I mean, like, wow, how did they even do this? Like, I remember, like, and there's a little quote about Antonioni seeing this film, and someone showed it to him, and he said, if you see Antonio, he liked it. He told the person, like, if you see Parajanov, tell him that I think he's a genius, but between you and me, I didn't understand anything. Yeah. And the guy says, like, you didn't understand what? The plot or what? And Antonioni says, I didn't understand how it was made.
Oh, that's cool.
And
true. Yeah, because I mean, they're not like, he's sitting under a tent looking at a monitor to make sure the blocking worked out,
Right.
So then it cuts to like this kind of black and white passage in the film where, you hear other people's disembodied voices talking about that they thought Ivan had died from grief and how people had wrote songs about, his love with Marichka. And people,
the lack of the color too, like the idea of like it sucked of all its energy and life, and this is like that phase of his grief.
Totally, he was this fine lad, but now he's a dirty, bedraggled, ragged, down on his luck kind of guy. He doesn't even look like a human being. Mm-hmm. People gossiping basically about him, and we see some great dual exposure shots of like him as a kid again, Christian iconography showing his suffering. Jesus is thrown in there. A crown of thorns, a crown on fire. So cool.
These are like experimenting with like film stocks and like film processing too to get that really high contrast.
Yeah.
Then, there's a lot of care in the selection of the stock and like what to do with it afterwards.
So cool.
The superimposing of Jesus.
Yeah, why
faces,
not?
That's so that's so fucking crazy.
And
Oh my God.
so then color returns again, and we see Ivan riding a horse. That's where I think the berries sort of return. It's like springtime. There's color on the leaves. Truly insane passage here. Again, hard to describe without like looking at the visual. You at home will be, but spinning delirious camera focusing on the leaves and just tracking people through the leaves in this very mesmerizing circular motions with the camera. Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
There's
sweeping
like hidden
circular.
cuts, I think, too, that like they're
crazy.
tracking through the
cut.
leaves. There's hidden cuts.
Yeah, hidden cuts. Yeah.
Tracking and moving, tracking them on a long lens.
Yeah.
Through
Mm.
zoom lens, through leaves, tracking them, but also on a dolly moving at the same time.
Yeah.
So
And
cool.
I think the spinning too has something to do with the idea of like time not being linear in his perspective. Like
Sure.
that it's all interwoven, the same thing as like memories and grief and time and dreams, and it's all this kind of like immersive cyclical thing.
Yeah.
I think is what he's doing there.
So then we see Ivan hammering in horseshoes, and he's doing that, and he meets Palagna, the new chick, and they, I guess, fall in love, but they get married. And
What is the sexual tension with the horse hoof? I was like reading about that.
I
like,
didn't get to
when
that.
he puts the nail on the hoof. Okay.
I didn't say. I could see that being something though.
Okay.
And then we get to this ceremony of them, this very sort of hasty marriage that he's getting married to this woman. And they walk into this, church, I guess. And there's a, and now maybe, I don't know, Marcus, do you know this is a Hutsul cultural ritual?
That is actually not.
Okay.
I don't know if Marcus, you were going to say that.
Yeah, I think there's elements of it that are,
Elements are, but not
the
the
yoke.
yoke.
The
The yoke
yoking
is not.
them together is something that he came up with. But
He came up with that.
Like
he's doing this stuff-
blindfolding them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. What I read was that he was doing this stuff with participation of the Hutsuls.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
like,
for sure.
Cool.
They're sort
It
of
was a
in on
combo.
but-
It was a combo. Because that is a part of, other, I think, Ukrainian cultures, there's other, or Slavic cultures where they do the yoking, but specifically in this culture, I guess they didn't do the yoking, but they do a lot of the other stuff. They also do the washing of the body, which is super interesting because that's also what you do in the death ritual of washing the body so they can go to the other realm.
Wow.
With marriage, it's as if it's like a rebirth. So you have to wash the body to get ready for the new life.
Yeah.
Wow.
He gets sort of alternately criticized for, or like praised for, like showing them and depicting them this sort of like almost like the original Ukrainians. That's who the Hutsuls think of themselves as. But also criticized for like cultural appropriation, exploitation, even back then.
Wow.
Not just like woke now, but even back then.
Yeah,
That's
the
funny.
woke Soviet right. Wow. So yeah, then their heads are connected in this wooden frame. Amazing. So yeah, very much focusing on the ritual itself. Like, this film's very ritual core, and
Yep.
that's what gives it the prog rock cinema vibes. Love it. So then they get married, and we cut to Christmas, of course. Why not?
Wow, so
and this is
crazy.
when we see, kind of reminds me of like Fanny and Alexander or something. I don't know, like these crazy cultural animal masks.
And then the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Wicker Man.
it's very folk horror. I mean, it is,
Totally.
obviously. It's like the original.
And all these crazy, like face paint and like skeleton masks and like all these handmade. There's like even like a leather face looking dude.
There's
in
a
there.
Leatherface, 100%. Yeah.
And then you see all this great like kids dressed up as weird Christmas angels and
And then he's got the scythe too. Like he's like some crazy creature with a scythe,
Yeah.
which I don't think is traditionally a Christmas thing. So that could have been added, which is
Yeah.
cool. That's like a little death doom
Reaper
warning.
type thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Grim Reaper. Yeah.
So Ivan passes out after dinner, but he sees visions of Marichka in the window, and it
I
cuts
love that.
to these great little jump shots of just like her different angles of her face, and of course the twinkling star again to give us that sort of visual motif.
And this is something I was reading about, that this is when she's coming back into the window.
Yeah.
She is now a spirit, but she is one of these forest spirits or like a
a wood
water
nymph.
wood nymph spirit. Yeah. And they're very specific. Like these wood nymphs are very
love it.
specific. So they could be good. They could be bad. They could be, you don't know, but they have kind of, there's an undercurrent there of darkness.
Yeah, and it's like
Try to pull you down into the darkness.
oh yeah,
Right.
because it's okay.
Into the underworld sort of thing.
So then what we do is we're kind of getting into this, like dramatically what's happening is, Ivan is very, emotionally absent from the marriage because he keeps thinking about Marichka. He's obsessed with thinking about her. And then of course his new wife feels neglected, spiritually disconnected from her husband. And she starts to become attracted to a local Malfar, which is a sorcerer named Yurko. Okay. And Yurko looks a little Tarkovsky to me in this movie. Just gonna throw that out there for what it's worth.
But before she gets with the sorcerer, like when he's saying the prayer next to his wife, and he's like, "Oh, bring back the woman who are drowned, and have the woman who are drowned dine with us." And like the new wife is like side-eyeing him,
Yes.
like, "Hey, what the fuck
What you
trying to
talking about?"
say?
Yeah.
Like you're conjuring your ex-lover. But I thought that part is kind of funny because she's like,
She's not into that.
What the fuck? No.
Yeah.
There's a wild shot where she leaves the house naked.
I was going to talk
She's like,
about that.
That's
okay.
so cool.
She's walking along that fence. Yeah.
So we see this scene where I think
That's
her
like
name
blood
is
on
Palagna.
Satan's claw kind of vibe.
Yeah, we see Palagna. She wanders partially or fully naked into the fields. And I guess there were some interpretations as that's like a fertility ritual. Like the sort of she's seeking fertility or perhaps sexual fulfillment, connection to nature.
And she can't get pregnant. I don't know if you mentioned that, but
No, that's right. Exactly.
she's having troubles with
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And so that's kind of what draws her into Yorko. But we see this amazing scene. This is the most Luciferizing scene in the whole film. The sorcerer scene where you see Yorko reciting these chants and the wind blowing and these lightning effects that have that sort of optical
so
freeze
insane.
frames with that duotone
Yeah.
solarized color, whatever you want to call it. Very cool. And of course it culminates into, let's just set a big fucking tree on fire, because why the fuck not?
Yeah.
And it's like
This
of
whole thing was
course,
very Kenneth Anger, very all that shit.
prog rock cinema.
Evil sorcery, crazy psychedelic shit.
Yeah.
This is a little bit psychedelic.
Yeah. So then we get to this other moment where Ivan sees his wife sort of macking on Yurko in a public sense, in a public setting.
Very outward, very bold.
Yes, and he doesn't like it one bit.
Because she's under a spell, too. We have to say
course.
that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's sorcery.
And so Ivan charges Yurko with an axe, bookended from earlier on in the film with the death of his father, charges him with an axe because I've read that he believes that, the sorcery is connected to his suffering. But what instead happens is Yurko fucking strikes him with the axe, wounds him, which we understand mortally, and it sort of sets in motion the final stages of his death. But what we see is in the film how he achieves this. Cut to crazy Yurko face, right? We see the Yurko fucking smashing the axe down. Then it cuts to Ivan holding his face in slow motion as these frames are just ticking off in like orange solarization.
Yeah.
Right? He's walking in circles. There's even some ghost trails action during this.
It's
wow.
like those memes, like those deep fried memes. That's what it looks like. They're kind of like extreme, like red, burnt out, high contrast solarization.
It's so cool. It's such a cool, he's mortally wounded. He's going to fucking die. Let's just show like the most nightmare, trippy fucking. That's the most like almost psychedelic moment in the whole film.
It's crazy.
So he wanders out into these smoldering fields. Of course, this is a very mythical way. This is all staged again, like him being, wounded by the axe. He goes down to the river again. Also amazing. The camera is underneath the river looking up.
Yeah. And also there's the water nymphs under there,
Well, she's there. I think you see Marichka there.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful sort of male and female call
There's a
response.
similar shot in Ivan's childhood, by the way.
But you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So he borrowed something there. But this is where we hear this amazing male and female call and response vocal, sort of like that folk song.
It's very tragic. It's about trying to find her.
Yeah.
You know, and then it cuts to this set piece of them both looking very ghostly, you know, and they're in kind of silverish white makeup, you know, on their hairs and faces, and they're wandering
She's
through.
really the spirit, you know,
Yeah.
this is her spirit form.
She's reaching out to him, and the camera's following her arms as it's like reaching out.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like taking him into the spirit world, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the tragedy of that, and that was almost predestined, but like that he was tortured in his life because he could not be with her and realize that the sort of ecstatic nature of like what that love was. He couldn't realize it in his life, and that grief was like totally destroying him. And the only way to do this was to like basically die and descend. But then we don't know if he actually ever was reunited with her, because this could also have been like a spirit demon.
Right.
There's some line earlier in the film that's like, you had your whole life ahead of you, but you already crossed to the other world or something, you know?
Yeah. This whole thing of his character is always on the edge of the realm between life and death. And like that line is so fluid and fine in this world, in these mountains, in this culture. And he's someone who kind of lives on the edge of that. And the movie is kind of him kind of toying with those boundaries between the realm of the living and the other dimensions or whatever.
The way she grabs him and pulls him in, but when his brother dies at the very beginning, his hand is like holding on to him. You know what I mean? Like his brother's dead, but his brother's hand is holding on to him like post-death, you know? So he's kind of got he's got the grip of death on him for the entire film, you know?
And again, another signature sort of Parajanov move here. He's like, you know, similar to like, okay, let's cut to like, you know, red solarized horses, just to, you know, like another little amazing accent mark is at the end of, you know, pulling him into the spirit world, so to speak. Let's just cut to like red paint on tree branches, y'all. You know,
so good.
I know, just like, why
red
not?
branches.
They're on like a, you know, Lazy as Susan spinning or something.
Yeah. But like we have the red on, it's like blood on the trees.
It's amazing.
And how the red is representing different things, because you have the red of the blood on the lens and with the murder, the red of sexuality, the red of, I don't know. It's interesting. It's like it's such a potent color like throughout the movie. Yeah.
So then we get to the final chapter, the Pietà, you know, which refers to sort of the Virgin Mary, you know, the image of the Virgin Mary cradling a dead body after you know, of Christ after the crucifixion. So rather than portraying his death as some form of tragedy in this film, you know, he presents it as another sort of communal ritual. And here we see, much kind of like the wedding earlier on in the film, we're seeing all of the moments in the ritual. You know, we're seeing all these chunks of hair that are put on his hands, you know.
And the coins on his body.
And the coins. And of course, let's cut to more crazy faces, crazy laughter, just to make it even more unsettling and insane.
Yeah.
And cameras spinning with everybody, kind of just going mad in this fucking death ritual.
I was also reading too that like that's also representing like grief, how like grief warps time.
Wow.
And grief warps like your sense of, you know, being stable, and it disorients. And basically his whole experience is disoriented, and you as the viewer are supposed to be sort of disoriented in that grief.
Yeah, I mean, it is very disorienting.
It is very disorienting.
Yeah, because it's very, you know, intense and insane throughout the whole set piece there, but it's great. And of course, what should we end this film on, guys? How about kids looking through a window at the end, right? Almost kids in a way that's very wholesome, like in the beginning of Night of the Hunter.
Night of the Hunter.
You know, like,
I was thinking that too, like a fairy. Well, it's fair. This is also a fairy tale.
That's what I thought.
And that also was the Mother Goose telling the stories.
Yeah, Night of the Hunter.
And then the folklore of telling stories, and the idea of like the filmmaker saying like the past is not dead, the past will repeat itself.
Yeah, here's
like,
the next gen.
This is a ritual. This movie is a ritual. It's sort of like, you know, in reviving this culture, and we're going to like bring it to life through this film, through watching this movie. And so I think that's sort of like, and the idea of like ecstatic truth, and Herzog also talked about that, like it's ecstatic truth that's like getting under something much more mysterious and mystical, and not literal.
Literal,
so, like,
one to one.
The movie is, you know.
Yeah, Marcus?
Oh, just to that point, I mean, you know, it did get back to Parajanov that Antonioni had said he didn't understand his film, and he said, your Antonioni is stupid. He doesn't. You shouldn't understand art. You should
understand.
feel it.
You should feel it. Yeah.
That's fucking right. Yeah, and Tarkovsky shared that similar feeling as well. All right. Oh, there we go. Holy shit, we did it somehow, some way. 1 fucking hour on Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors, y'all. That's a phrase I never thought I would be uttering when we started the show almost 5 years ago. But we did it. Hope you guys are happy. Got a little dose of some world cinema action.
Yeah, I don't know how popular this one is, but if you guys want something a little different,
something I meant to actually mention off the top of the episode that I did not, which I will mention here, is this film. We should have checked because this film is not currently available to see anywhere. So if you like,
weird.
I know it is weird because it is like a Kino.
It's weird that it wouldn't be Yeah,
it was like a Kino Lorber, but this should be on Criterion, guys. What the fuck? Come on. Get out there and get this.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
Why don't you have this one?
Yeah, this is the one you don't have.
As opposed to
you got Hausu, you got Armageddon.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the list is crazy.
Sliding doors.
Yeah, right. No.
Yes.
Really?
That's on there.
That's on. I think it's on there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of get it, but
Sliding Doors does not have a spine number, does it?
No. I don't think so.
All right.
I think it's streaming.
Okay, that's different. Okay. So this film
free DVD set, Sliding Door.
Yes, right.
Oh my god.
Okay. The Love Conquers All edit of that. Okay. Deep Cut Criterion nerd joke there. Okay. So that we should have checked. This film is not available anywhere to stream. So what I have done, as long as the rights holders are not listening, if you really want to see the movie really badly, just shoot me a DM. Just at 1 fucking hour on Instagram, and we can hook you up, okay? Because we just want to. I'm sure Parajanov would want to share his work with the world. So, if you want to see the film, hit us up. We'll share it with you. Or
he wanted that dollar bill.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
God.
Yeah,
he was in it for the bucks, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, everybody. Well, hope you enjoyed that. So we're already halfway through the 60s, man. This is just
Jesus Christ.
Pretty crazy.
Wow. It feels like the 50s took like 20 years to get through.
20 years.
I know. It did.
You were dying.
I know. All that crusty old black and white crap. All right.
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy
Stewart movie.
Yeah, we did some Jimmy Stewart. Vertigo. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that movie is, come on.
All
right. Let's talk about next week, everybody. Again, no polls. No polls next week because, as we alluded to, things are about to get a little Marcus-y around here. So
we're in a Marcus run.
I think we're going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
Right.
We are on a Marcus run.
I had my little run, and now we're on a Marcus run.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So, so tell us, Marcus, what we're going to be doing for next week for 1966.
So I said his name many times this episode. We're going to be doing Antonioni's 1966 Blow Up, which is sort of a fundamental film for me,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
It probably helped seeing that young helped lead me to, want to discover more films like it.
Yes.
And there's not many, but I think like Swing in London is such a huge, you can't do the 60s.
That's
Swing in
true.
London.
That's true.
We're going to have Jimmy Page. We're going to have Austin Powers kind of photographer.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So Blow Up is our first bite of the Antonioni apple on this show. Very exciting. Can't wait to get into that.
There's some peeping Tom in there too.
Definitely.
There's some echoes.
There's some peeping Tom.
Oh yeah.
And I will also get into perhaps maybe.
Didn't we do Blow Out once?
We did.
You guys did that.
We did. Shout out in the archives.
Yeah.
De Palma's Blow Out.
Yeah.
Or as the Canadians refer to it, Blue Oot. And I will probably not during the clock, but maybe after the clock, if anyone cares. Believe it or not, I met Antonioni once.
What?
Yes.
That's insane.
Stay tuned for next week. It's a true story.
Oh my God.
I
Jesus.
met Antonioni. Yes. Not in a previous life when I was alive and he was alive. So
That's a good one.
that is, I know.
That's a really good
I got
one.
some, that's pretty crazy, you know.
That's pretty crazy.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Blow Up next week. So shout out to that. Hopefully by that time, we'll have the new bonus episode up as well. Of course, that's up on the Patreon. That will be up on the Patreon, patreon.com/onefuckinghour. Or you can join the channel by clicking the join button underneath this video on YouTube. Sign up, guys. $5 a month helps our brother Tom as well. Please, if you can, if you got the wherewithal and you got, you know, like what is postage these days? Like it's like $1 or what is it? I don't even know. Is it even $1? I don't even know.
Or a forever stamp.
Yeah, get a forever stamp. Head down to the post office. Send a nice card to Tom. He would really appreciate it. Again, we're really trying to rally the visual of a mailbag filled with letters of fan mail. We'd really appreciate that. It would go a long way to making a guy feel much better. So if you could send one, send it to me at my P.O. Box, Evan Husney, 697 Grand Street, Box 166, Brooklyn, New York, 11211. All right. Whoa! Okay. And yeah, go Knicks. All right. And what else, guys? Anything else, or should we get the hell out of here?
I think we're good.
Think we're good?
We're good.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we can't leave you, of course, without your beautiful, wonderful moment of Zen. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you for 1966 blow up time. All right, everybody, take care and have a good rest of your week. Of course, so long, farewell, goodbye.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.